wish Cameron Diaz would be there, but you never know.
You know what I mean?
Skilo was there, or no, that's not his name. Oh shit. Skilo, sorry. Oh, he was a great, super nice guest star too. Really good. Shut up now.
And with that, we will open it up to questions. I'm sure you guys have a ton. Is there a mic going around? Questions? No? Okay.
Real loud.
In the back?
Hi there. I kind of told some of you how much I admire your careers at the earlier panel. But I really wanted to say to Jason, I was a big fan of yours before this weekend, but after hearing the actors talk about your work environments and just knowing their characters and the characters that you create are so just loved, like they just really, really resonate with people, which I just kind of wanted to say that and thank you for creating these characters. But my question is for you as a writer, with all of the freedom that you give them on sets and the improv and the ad-libbing, do you ever get really pissed off when they miss a line that you had written that you're like, yes, this is TV gold, and then they kind of just like, just kind of walk over it?
Yeah, can everybody leave for 5 minutes?
Will you rank them in order of most offensive?
I think this is what I think about that. First of all, I don't think I've ever gotten upset about a line because what I truly believe that that this process is ultimately what it does is it raises the material. So even like we walked in, watched the end of this episode, and like I saw things, and I always see things in every episode where what I wrote was nothing compared to how it came out. That I couldn't imagine some of the things that happen. And what we really wanted to do was do a show about that reflected what it feels like for people with parenthood and family, in relationships, and we wanted that to be real. And I felt like in order for that to be, I needed to create an environment on set where not only were the actors free to be able to actually interact with each other, but that we would shoot it in a way where we would be able to capture that. So that's why by shooting, Jason was talking before about shooting both sides of the scene at once. So when you don't have to worry about overlapping. When we have 14 people in the scene, we've had 14 actors mic'd, and we have one of the most incredible sound team on the show that's able to sort of capture all of that and allow them to kind of be living in the moment. And so we've gotten so many things that out of these mine so much out of these scenes through the process that it is worth it every once in a while to be sitting in the editing room and it's like, really, you didn't say that line, which I mean, it happens. The one time that and it's rare that it will happen because the actors are so, you couldn't do this with just any cast. The actors are all incredible, they really are, and what you worry about is not so much losing a line, but when the scene, you don't capture what essentially you wanted to capture from the scene. But it will happen, but it's so rare. And if it really happens and it really makes a difference, to me, we shoot so fast, and we can always go back and redo a scene if necessary, and it doesn't happen often, but we can do it. Normally redoing a scene is less because the actors didn't do it the way we wanted them to do it, and more, that it was, something that we as the writers missed. But we always have that safety net. And finally, like what Jason Ritter was talking about before, is the editing room, and that's something that is not talked a lot about in the process, but is a crucial part of any show, but particularly a show like this, because you're getting much more raw material because of the way we shoot than we could possibly put in, and the episodes wind up being 43 minutes of story time. And so you wind up in editing you go back to the writing process, so you're able to really kind of you know, take what you have and you know, mold it and find, and you have the benefit of having these incredible you know, sort of incredible gems. And so it's an exciting process. It's not for everybody, but it's I love it.
I have to say too, I'm sorry, really quickly, just for like from an actor's perspective, I really have to like reiterate what an incredible environment it is. Like it is so, there's something about, you know, Jason like has, you know, obviously with Friday Night Lights and with us, it's like, you know, putting together a team, being really discerning about the team that you put together and like finding people that you really vibe with, you know, for every department, like, you know, makeup and wardrobe and everybody, you know, the whole crew, our DP is incredible. I mean, you know, just things that you put together a whole team that is, you know, you trust and you love and you have this bond with, and then just so much of the other stuff gets taken away, because obviously, you know, on sets it's like kind of a miracle that anything ever gets made. I mean, it's like you have so many people involved in such small but extremely, like everyone's part in doing it is so important and like reflects directly on what the product is. And so to be able to sort of have that trusting connection with the people that you're working with, it really like opens you up to being able to channel the best stuff that you have. I mean, so many times it's like, you know, especially for actors, like if I can't communicate with the director or the producers or something, you know, you end up feeling really alone and confused, and when you don't have sort of that genuine spark of what it is that you're going for together and understanding, you know, it's like you sort of get lost. And this is just like, it's so straightforward. I mean, anytime there's questions or anything, it's not just here's the answer, do it. It's like, yeah, you know, let's explore that. Let's take it from the beginning. Why would they do it? I mean, I've never done one thing on Parenthood that to me didn't make sense for the character, because any questions that I'd had, you know, were open and welcome, and we worked through them together. And I think for everybody, when they're sort of feeling like their, you know, voice is heard and respected and vibes with everyone on the set, you know, it's like it just creates this easy, collective, sort of natural, organic attitude that allows some stuff to come through that you don't necessarily get, you know, on other shows or anything else where it's sort of a more rigid, you have to fit into something, you know, it's like a very open process, and it really allows you to dig deep and come up with some interesting things. Do you think so, Dax?
Yeah, I was only going to say that we do these panels and we end up taking way more credit than we deserve. We improv like 0.5% of what you see in the show. It's all 99.9% the writing, and the writing's amazing, and we're not really that huge of an ingredient. I just want to give proper respect to Katims. Like we're putting garnishing on the plate. That's it.
But you feel Katims' heart coming through everything. Like every word that's spoken, it really feels like it's that golden tone of, you know, real love and genuineness that comes through in all of his shows, you know.
Well, and not only that, but you start to, the writers are all so good that it starts to become a relationship where it feels like they're writing for you, and they've gotten to know you and they've captured your voice, and so you read it and you're like, oh, that's exactly how I would say that. So there's no need to do that, and it is a very small amount of improvising, but it's nice that they don't just let us do that and then cut it all out later. they'll use, you know, it's a lot of times it's just those things that, you know, not even the things that we say, but because of the freedom that we feel, it'll just be some moment, you know, some glance. It frees you up in so many ways to have that freedom that, you know, scenes just come to life. And
I think that to me is the point that I think is the salient point, is to me it really doesn't matter that much the exact word phrasing, you know, how somebody says something. It's the essence of it. And by having, I think, this, you could say like a freedom, but I think of it more as a responsibility that the actors have for these roles. It allows things to come out a lot of times in silent moments, a lot of times in glances or looks or, you know, body language, and those are all the things that we really have wanted to, you know, do to make the show feel, you know, to feel like life, and you know, the only thing that the show could offer because we have no, like mysteries. We have no,
guns.
we have
No guns.
no guns. We have no lawyers. We have a lawyer, but we rarely see her do any practice law. What we have to offer is, human behavior, how people react with each other, how they are with behavior, trying to understand what makes people tick and why we do the things we do, and watching people really, I believe that it's all about watching people really try. They're all trying their best, and my theory on life is people generally are trying their best to make connections, and that's, the show that we kind of all wanted to do, and I feel like that the process is just allowing that stuff to come through.
We have time for one more question because people have flights and stuff.
The question number 2.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to say that I love this show, obviously. One of my favorite characters on the show, personally, is Max. That whole family really resonates with me because I actually have an autistic brother. So my question for Katims is, what was the inspiration behind Max's character, and specifically, like, how does he work with, because I'm pretty sure he doesn't actually have Asperger's, is that correct?
Max, no, he doesn't.
So how does, as an actor, how does he
do it?
Yeah.
Well, the inspiration for the character was I have a son with Asperger's, and that is kind of when I was doing a show about Parenthood, to not include it would be a big omission, and to include it was really terrifying, and something that I really battled with myself, as when I was developing the pilot. But we did do it, and Max is just an extraordinary young actor. He is. When we started doing the show, he's read a lot of books about autism. We have a consultant who's a behavioral psychologist who's been working with kids with special needs for decades, who works with us. But my sense is that somehow we found an actor who was a child but had a very mature and adult ability to step into the skin of somebody that's not exactly him. And he was definitely able to find within himself, elements of what this kid was. But he's just, done. It's tremendous, because what it makes us all able to do as writers is to lean into that story in the writer's room and say, now we can do a story about this with Max. Now we can do that, because we're not, concerned about, well, we have a 13-year-old actor trying to play something that's very different from who he is. We're able to sort of lean into it and continue to tell those stories, and it's definitely one, for me, been a very powerful thing to follow his storyline.
We actually have time for a few more. They're just gonna
pull Jason.
Pull Jason.
Okay.
So,
has to be on a
thank
flight.
you for
leaving
We
now.
love Jason.
Now the truth will come out. Enjoy your flight.
Love you, Kate.
Are there more questions?
What if everyone stood up and left? Katims is gone.
Pointed
What the
out.
hell with this?
How do we get a copy of that video that you guys did? That music video?
Yeah,
Showed us
woo!
the music
You guys saw the girl on TV video,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Great.
Yes.
Is it on there?
It is on YouTube. You guys can check it out on YouTube. And yeah, that was something that, we thought would be really fun, considering the kind of environment that we have, loving our whole family so much. We thought it would be really cool to do something kind of extra, and it kind of started with Sarah Ramos, who plays Hattie. I had played her that song, being a little older than her. I loved LFO very much, and I remember loving that song, and I played it for her and Miles, who plays Drew. And we just all sort of started making jokes about how it sounded like it would be funny to have it be this and that, and our characters in the song. And then Sarah is like, she's loves to direct, and she's like really got a go-getter attitude about it. And she was like, let's do it. Like, let's really make it into something. And So, you know, she did most of the grunt work on it.
She created the opposite environment we have on Parenthood. She was a tyrant, very much.
True, actually. But the problem was that we really didn't have a lot of time to shoot it, and so, I mean, it was kind of like we had to keep pulling like Craig T. Nelson off of set to try to get him to come and do it, and he was like, we'd sent him the lyrics and the video and the song and everything before, tried to get him as prepared as possible, and, you know, he walked on, he was like, what is this? What are we doing? What's going on? So we kind of had to like feed him the lyrics as it was going and stuff, but I mean, the guy really knows how to pull it out. You see it in it, he's just like, he looks like he's been prepping for it for weeks. I mean, that guy is a pro. So yeah, it's, you know, another reflection on, it was kind of like our love letter to Parenthood. You know, we screened it at the wrap party and everything, and just everybody, you know, it started out with just not that many people being in it, and we were just like, everybody was like, we want to be a part of it, it'll be fun, and we want you guys to do it and everything, so we ended up getting everybody in there, and it was really, really fun. So thanks for doing it. Landon covered it. Landon covered the song Girl on TV for it, and came up with a really cool version of it to kind of help it out. And it was great. We had a really good time.
Is that psoriasis, itchy scalp, or is that a hand up?
Dax, you did a lot of comedy. What was it like going into I know your character has a lot of light moments, but what was it like going into a drama?
Well, I had just done this movie, The Freebie, like, I don't know if anyone probably not saw that. It was at South by 2 years ago, but had shot that, wrapped, and then like 12 hours later was in San Francisco shooting the pilot. So I had just done a drama, so in that respect it felt very like a normal transition. But to me, I know on the surface it seems like there's a big difference, but for me there's not. Like, there's just, you know, between action and cut is the same. You know, maybe you have a different objective in the scene, but all in all it's just acting, which is absurdly fun, and no one should get paid for it. So it's not, you know, it's not heavy lifting, by God. The getting the damn job is impossible lifting, but once you have the job, it's not too bad, not too shabby. Oh, here we go. Great. Mm-hmm. Hi.
You guys talk about your audition process.
Well, hold on a second. I think we had a hand up. Did you get called on? Oh, you did. Okay. My bad.
Drinking, you know.
Everyone's.
Can you guys just talk about your audition process really quickly for Parenthood?
Jason, what do you tell us about it?
I actually didn't audition. No, it was this thing where it was a thing where essentially I did an episode of a show called Mercy that was on NBC a while ago. So I guess the people at NBC kind of knew me a little bit from that episode, and they asked if I would do.
He's being modest. They've had a boner for him at NBC for years. They love Ritter. All right, that's the truth. So charming.
That's actually what the B stands for.
Such thick hair.
So they basically asked me to do an arc of 3 episodes, and we did 3 episodes, and then they just have been very nice and keep on bringing me back. But I remember this is sort of, I actually usually prefer to audition, because then you're like, that's what you're gonna get. I'm not gonna do anything better. So that's a little taste. And so I was really nervous that I would get there and start doing stuff, and they would say, "Oh, this is a terrible mistake. 2 more episodes of this." And I also wasn't sure if I was gonna, you know, if Lauren was gonna like me, or I was like really nervous. It was like a first date. I was like, "Oh, hi," and then like I said something and she laughed, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be all right." But I was really nervous. I was like, I thought she was gonna be like, "Who is this? This would never be believable that I would fall in love with this." So I was very, very, very nervous, and she was very nice about it. And now anytime we go back to the school, I'm like, "That's where we met," and I gave her some Nicorette gum, and she gave it to me. Anyway. So that was sort of, it was like it was a slow process. And it's kind of hard. I've never jumped into a show that's already going and already has its own thing. So I was very, very nervous about it, but it's such a wonderful group of people. I couldn't be any happier or feel any luckier.
I was writing a project for Imagine Television, and we were in a script note session, and while we were talking, one of the producers goes, you would make a great Crosby. Wouldn't he make a good Crosby? And the other guy was like, I don't know, maybe. You want to go in and read for Crosby tomorrow? And I said, yeah. And then I went in and read for Crosby. That's my story.
It's history, clearly. My story is pretty basic as far as auditions go. The director who directed our pilot's name was Thomas Schlamy, and he's like an amazing director who
From Texas.
From Texas. I know him for a long
Jewish
time.
hillbilly from Texas. He's amazing.
It's the best combination. And so I'd known him as a family friend because I worked with his wife when I was a little kid, and so it was helpful to have him in there because I felt so comfortable with him already. And then, you know, I tested. I want to say they kind of cast some of like the kids first early on, which doesn't always happen, but Sarah Ramos, who plays Hattie, was one of the first ones cast. And I remember going in for the test, and just her and I really like hit it off. And I remember testing for it. We kind of added a couple extra things, and I mean the vibe of being familial was kind of like palpable, and it sort of, you know, went really well and felt really natural and stuff. So that is very rare as far as auditions go. So it was nice to not have a terrible one for once in my life.
And how much do you make an episode?
It's really a...
It's just like someone wanted to know how much money.
It goes up and up, you know, every single episode.
Not a good joke. You know, look, you make a lot of jokes, some of them suck.
We're not going to get into this.
Oh, we had a hand. There it is. There it is.
Hi, living here in Austin, it's not uncommon to run into people now who've worked, you know, on major production crews, whether it's somebody's very first job as a PA or somebody who's been in the industry for a while. And it's interesting to hear stories from their point of view, how they feel like it becomes a family. Can you guys talk a little bit about your relationship with your, you know, basic everyday crew and how, you know, behind the scenes?
Well, I don't speak to the crew. Do you talk to them? I know we have a crew, I'm assuming, because there's lights on and stuff.
I say they can't look at me, but sometimes I talk to them with my eyes averted. Actually, the crew is like literally the best crew I've ever worked with in my life. I mean, as I was saying before, like everybody has it down to such a science. Like having been an actor for like a long time, the one thing I really value a lot is efficiency and like everybody having respect for each other, and it feels like we are all so like in tune with each other, you know, as far as, oh, I have an emotional scene, they know to sort of light, you know, they know our preferences as whether we like to go first or second, you know, with having our coverage done, and just being able to, you know, our director of photography, Mike Weaver, is like this amazing genius, and all of our cameramen, you know, like we said, we have 3 cameras, and this is like almost unheard of on shows, but I mean, he'll be like hiding behind like, you know, the coffee counter and stuff when I'm working to try to like, so it's not facing the other cameras so we can get coverage at the same time. So you're really seeing the actors play off of each other in those actual moments. And I really do think that, you know, it makes a huge difference. So
we're also on a weird show where our crew is cooler than we are. Like our camera A guy, he's constantly leaving to go to Burning Man. He's always at Burning Man, or he's sailing with his buddy around the Sea of Cortez, drunk for 8 days. Like, the B camera was in a Beastie Boys video. We're not in a Beastie Boys video. Arthur, his name is frickin' Arthur Scipio Africano. This is the man's real name.